Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Chiefskate, and welcome to another edition of Warhammer Wednesday, where we showcase Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports every Wednesday during our Fantasy Wargaming Weeks with our series, The Golden Age. This is a series of 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports, and this is a 3,000 point battle as fought between Brother Grimm as well as myself. My friend Brother Grimm is playing Waaagpokeylipz Now, a 3,000 point Orcs and Goblin army, and I'm bringing the Blackstone Crusade, my 3,000 points Bretonnian army. So we're going to throw this down in a battle line scenario. We're going to play some background music real quick and show you pictures of both armies as well as the army lists. If you want to see exactly what we're taking for this one, you can take a pause and take a look at your own leisure. Or you can check down the description box below, where we also have the army list posted there. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then to hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, the scenario for this one is Battle Line is the most typical game of Warhammer Fantasy that we play on this channel with standard deployment rules as well as standard victory conditions. So now that we got the scenario rules over with, let's go on and talk about the battle plan real quick. Alright, so here's an overhead shot on the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, Brother Grimm and I are playing on a 4x6 table, with Brother Grimm and his Orcs and Goblins deployed on the far side of the table, and I deployed on the near side of the table. And for the most part, I have my work cut out for me. As you can see, this photo, my friend Brother Grimm decided to do a denied flank is what he decided to do, kind of pretty much castled all of his forces in the upper right hand corner, which is actually kind of like an odd thing to do. It's actually kind of a defensive move. But as you can see there, he's got his hordes of orcs in the back rank, he's got goblins up in the front as well as his flank as well as his generals. So because of that, I won't be able to easily surround him with my cavalry forces. So my plan here is to use my yeomen, and up, as you can see their vanguard upward, to pop his fanatics, that way the fanatics come out real quickly. And once that's done, I'm planning on using my commoners to kind of suppress his right hand flank. Hopefully my two units of questing knights, which are on the bottom of the screen there, they can charge forward and smash directly into those orcs and hopefully break them. At the same time, I got my knights errant, my knights of the realm, as well as my grill knights over there in the left hand flank. My plan is to sweep around those buildings on the left hand side and smash them in a pincer attack and hopefully destroy them that way. And that's pretty much the plan I got going on for this one. So now that we got the battle plan over, let's talk about the deployment real quick for the Blackstone Crusade. Over on the left hand side, I have a unit called the Pride of Lioness. It is a unit of 10 Knights of the Realm with full command. They got lances, heavy armor shields, as well as barded Bretonnian warhorses. And leading that unit, I got two characters. The first one is Warren, the Hermit of Shalone. He's a prophet of the lady. He's a level 4 wizard with hand weapon, also mounted on a barded warhorse. He's also got the Silver Mirror as well as Lord of the Lady for his spell, level 4 of course. And then right next to him, of course, is Rapunzel de Lioness. She is a battle standard bearer special character from our army. She's got heavy armor, shield, riding a barded Bretonnian warhorse. She's got the Halo of Maidenly Wrath, which gives her unit terror as well as magic resistance for 3. She also has the Sword of Lioness, which makes all magical weapons mundane in the hands of her opponents. And she's also got the Fleur de Lis banner, which allows me to steal 1 power die from my enemy's magic phase and add to my dispel. And right next to him on the right hand side, that is a unit called the Blackstone Legion. Is a unit of 10 Grail Knights with full command. They also got the banner of defense as well in that unit, so that makes them really, really tough to get shot at. So this makes it really nice for them. Leading that unit are two characters. I got Lair the Beast. He's my paladin. He's armed with a great weapon. He's got a shield as well as heavy armor. He's also riding a barded warhorse. He's got the Virtue of Duty, which means that so long as a general alive, this unit has +1 to his combat res in any fight they take part in. He's also got the Cuirass of Fortune, which is a heavy armor, which means he can reroll 1s or more on a hit to wound as well as making armor saves. And of course, in that unit is my general Remy Diapion, the Duchess of Lioness. She's got a shield, heavy armor, running a barded warhorse. She's also got the Grell Vow as well. She's got the Virtue of Knightly Temper, which means that for every successful attack and wounds that she does in the charge, she also takes additional attacks. She's also got the Sword of the Lady's Champion, which means her strength is always 1 point higher than our target's toughness. And she's got Syrian's Locket, which means she can never suffer more wound in any one phase. And however, she is affected by Killing Blow, but Ward Saves will help me out on that one as well. And that pretty much makes my deployment here on the left-hand flank. In the center, I have a unit of 9 Knights Errant called the Silver Squires. They got full command as well as the Errantry Banner, which gives them +1 strength on the charge, but -2 leadership for their impetuous tests. And on the right-hand side of the battlefield, on the left-hand side, that is a unit called the Hedge Knights, a unit of 8 Questing Knights of full command. They got great weapons, as well as heavy armor, shields, and riding barded war horses. And leading that unit is one of my magic casters. His name is Corbett of the Ravens. He's a Monk of the Lady, level 2, Lord of the Lady, as well as carrying a Dispel Scroll, and he's also riding a barded war horse. Right next to him on the right-hand side is the Templars of the Dawn. He's a unit of 9 Questing Knights with full command. Right on the right-hand side is Ravizan Guard, a unit of 24 men at arms with halberds, shields, as well as full command and light armor. And right behind them are the Bowmen of Baritz, with a unit of 20 longbowmen, peasant longbowmen, armed with defensive stakes, as well as braziers. And Vanguard up 12 inches forward, my 3 units of yeomen. On the left-hand side, that is the Darnay Rangers, and the center are the Hussars of Riom Hussars, and the right-hand side, the Chasseurs L'Arve. And they're all equipped the same thing with crossbows as well as horses. And that pretty much makes up my deployment for this one. So, now to the deployment for Waaagpokeylipz Now, starting left-hand flank, that is Undead and the Fred and the Loon, which is a giant, and right next to him is a unit called the Ludas. It is a unit of 38 Night Goblins of full command. They're armed with short bows, hand weapons. They also have netters. They also got 3 fanatics in there as well with full command. And that unit, I got 2 characters. First of all, we have the Hobgrob da Stinga. He's a Goblin Big Boss. He's also the Army's battle standard bearer. He's got great weapon, light armor, and shield. He's also packing the Spider Banner, giving this unit poison attacks. And also leading this unit is the Shrinking Shroomhead, a level 2 Night Goblin Shaman. He's got a Dispel Scroll, the Terrifying Mask of E. He's also got the spells of the Little Wall. He's got Night Shroud as well as Curse of the Bad Moon for his spells on this one. And in the center, we have the huge, honking huge unit of Black Orcs called the Immortals. It's a unit of 39 Black Orcs with full command, heavy armor, armor of the teeth, as well as the Razor Standard. And leading that unit is Grimgor Ironhide, the Incarnate of Beasts. He's a special character from the End Times rules. He's got the Locus of Ghur spell. He's also got Gitsnik as well as Bloodforged armor. And right in front of them, we have the Backstabbers as well as those Sneaky Gits. Those are the 2 units of 20 Night Goblins with full command. They got short bows, and they also got 3 Fanatics apiece. And on the right-hand flank, leading the front, we got a huge unit of 39 Orc Biggins with Biggins upgrades. They also got full command. They're armored choppers, light armors, as well as shield. They also got the standard discipline, giving the unit +1 leadership. And leading that unit too is Ruggah da Stunty-Flayer. He is a Great Orc Shaman, level 4, Lord of the Big Waaagh. He's got Fencer's Blades, giving him a weapon skill 10. Talisman Endurance, giving him a 5 of ward save. He's also got the Crown of Command, giving this unit Stubborn. So very, very hard nut to crack as well. And the spells that they got for this one are Hand of Gork, Foot of Gork, Headbutt, as well as Fists of Gork is what he has for his spells. And in the back there, we got them Kamikaze Boys, a unit of 2 Goblin Doom Divers, which are located at the top of the tower. And that pretty much makes the deployment for this one. So deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Brother Grimm and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and the Orcs and Goblins get to go first for the obvious reason, because I'm Bretonnians, and I'm going to take a turn to pray. So for the most part, the first thing that ends up happening is that my buddy has to take an animosity test. And unfortunately for him, the Backstabbers failed their animosity test, which means they need to charge forward. Unfortunately for him, however, he failed his charge roll, so they only go forward up to 5 inches, what they do for the most part. Now, for the rest of the movement phase, though, he does something that's very uncharacteristic of Orcs and Goblin players. He doesn't really move all that much. All of his forces stay pretty much exactly where they are at, except for the War Boys. The War Boys move up forward, I think, 8 inches when they decide to do. So as you can see, that they lined up there on the right-hand flank, along with those Sneaky Gits, which are looking in the front there. And that's it, which is actually kind of odd. My opponent is playing defensively for once, which is actually kind of crazy because I'm not really used to seeing that from my buddy Brother Grimm. So here's a close-up of the movement phase on the left-hand side with Undead Fred and the Loon, as well as the Ludas stand there on the ground and not really moving for the most part, which is very uncharacteristic for Orc and Goblin armies. And here's a close-up of the Immortals, as well as them Backstabbers as well as the Sneaky Gits, as well as the War Boys and the Kamikaze Boys in the back as well. And I forgot to mention, when those sneaky gets charged forward, they kind of stopped about 7 inches away from my main lines because of the fanatic rules, and they threw their fanatics out. 2 of the fanatics ended up about an inch away from hitting my chasseurs of Larv, as well as one of them was just 2 inches short of hitting them as well. So that part's terrifying. The nice part, though, is I did manage to pop his fanatics with my plan. Yeah, I might lose some of my yeomen if they get killed to that, but you know what? They're not worth that many points, so that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly in the magic phase. And during the magic phase, my opponent, Brother Grimm, casts Hand of Gork off onto them backstabbers, and the backstabbers get teleported 20 inches forward. As you can see, they just kind of fly right over the Realm Hussars, and they land about 8 inches away from the closest enemy unit, which is my unit, which is the Hedge Knights, which is the unit that holds my monk. And because of that, that automatically launches their fanatics forward. And as you can see in this photo, all 3 fanatics managed to cut right through the Hedge Knights, managed to kill every single member of that unit, except for 2 characters, my Standard Bearer, my Champion, as well as my Monk. Those are the only ones who managed to survive those 3d6 strength 5 hits with no armor saves. It was absolutely atrocious. Needless to say, I had to take a break test, and unfortunately my Hedge Knights failed that break test. They broke and fled, however they had to go right through the fanatics in order to escape, and that's what happened. They all got killed the last man. Now the nice part about it is those 3 units of fanatics are dead, which is kind of nice, but at the same time though, my buddy Brother Grimm managed to launch one of his surprise attacks, managed to kill one of my questing knights, so that is not good whatsoever. So with the movement phase over, magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, my Darting Rangers got blown off the face of the planet because the looters decided to open up, because I don't care what you say, no unit has tolerance against 30 Night Goblin attacks with poison attacks with short bows. So because of that, my poor Darting Rangers got riddled to arrows of death and they all got killed. However, there was some good news against the Doomdiver Catapults, however. One of them rolled a 1 for their misfire, and that Doomdiver Catapult got destroyed. The other one rolled a 3, which means it can't fire this turn or the next, which is absolutely fantastic. Which is really good because Doomdiver Catapults are the stuff of nightmares, especially since you don't get any armor saves against them, so that is absolutely terrifying. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the bottom turn number 1 for the Bretonnians. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom turn number 1 for the Bretonnians, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and I go on the offense on this one. The first thing I do is I declare a charge of the Templars of the Dawn, who go smashing directly into them backstabbers just because those guys have to die. At the same time, I decide to go up against the Fanatics, what I decided to do. The first thing I do is I declare a charge with my the Chasseurs Larv directly into those Fanatics, manage to kill 2 of those guys, as well as lose one of my units, which is kind of sad as well. At the same time, I also did exactly the same thing with my Realm Hussars. I march them up to the left directly to the Ludas and just stop just short of actually getting to the right hand flank, because what that did is it forced the Ludas to pop their fanatics as well to the right hand side. So I did lose 2 members of the Realm Hussars, but at the same time though it's worth it because, you know, if my yeoman dies, not that many points, but at the same time I also draw out their fanatics from being attacked from the rest of my units, which is really helpful as well. After that, I decided to march up my Ravizan Guard of 4 just to give my opponent something to charge at, so hopefully I can keep his forces on the right hand flank. And meanwhile, on the left-hand side, I marched with the Silver Squires, the Blackstone Legion, as well as the Pride of Lioness as quickly as I can, so that way I can assault from the left-hand flank and then catch my opponent in the pincer. And that pretty much makes my move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the right-hand flank with the Ravizan Guard marching up forward with the Bowman of Brits laying down some support fire with long-range shooting. And here's a close-up of the Templars of the Dawn marching directly into them backstabbers and ready to bring some righteous fury down on these goblins. And here's a close-up of the Realm Hussars getting chopped almost in half, almost by, 2/3 getting chopped up by a Night Goblin Fanatic. The nice part though is I did manage to pop the 3 Fanatics from the Ludas, so that part's kind of nice. It leaves them right and open for my other units of Knights to charge into them. At the same time, my Chasseurs Larv also got killed because they took out the Fanatics from those sneaky gits. And finally, there's a close-up of the Pride of Lioness, the Blackstone Legion, as well as the Silver Squires, moving up as quick as they can on the left-hand flank as well. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. Unfortunately for me, magic phase was a wash, so we skipped that and we go directly to shooting phase, and I take aim with my Bowman at Brits and open fire directly into those sneaky gits. Unfortunately for me though, I was only able to kill 3 of those Night Goblins. Needless to say, they're perfectly fine, they don't go anywhere for the most part. And in the combat phase, oh my god, I bombed the combat phase. As you can see in this photo, I only managed to kill 6 goblins from them backstabbers. So they weren't able to do anything to me, which is pretty awesome, which means I won this by a landslide. Unfortunately, as you can see here, my buddy Brother Grim rolled his leadership test, rolled snake eyes for these guys. So because of these night goblins are extremely courageous night goblins, and they decide to stand their ground. And I'm stuck with another round of combat against these guys with my questing knights, which is absolutely insane. And that pretty much ends turn number 1 for this round. Alright, so with that we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Orcs and Goblins, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and once again, not much movement is really happening for the most part. As you can see in this photo, all my opponent really did is just move 2 of his units. The first one was he moved Undead Friend in the Loon, he marched him over to the left-hand side, 12 inches over the left-hand side next to that Autumnal Wood. I think he's doing that so that way he can draw out my Knights of the Realm or my Grail Knights, so that way they won't be able to concentrate my charges to the left-hand flank. At the same time, I believe it's the War Boys. I think they move back. They move back an inch or two. I think is what they do for the most part. And same thing with the Immortals. They just kind of wheel back a little bit, so that way they have a good lot. So that way they can't be really flanked by anything at this point. Now for his Fanatics, one of his Fanatics does crash into the building, gets killed, while the other Fanatic comes dangerously close again to the Immortals, but just stops just shy of 2 inches for the most part. And that pretty much makes it the move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the right-hand flank with the War Boys as well as those Sneaky Gits, just kind of pretty much standing their ground for the most part here in the right-hand flank. And here's a close-up of them Backstabbers still engaged in close combat with the Templars of the Dawn. And here's a close-up of the Immortals who wheeled back a little bit, a few inches. At the same time, one of the Fanatics from the Looters came pretty dangerously close from actually impacting them. And here's a close-up of Undead Friend the Loon, just kind of taking position behind that wooded forest on the left-hand side and not really engaging anything. Like I said, my opponent's not really fighting this round so much. He's just kind of doing some movement shenanigans and just pretty much defensively fighting for the most part, which is almost unheard of for Orcs and Goblins. So with the move phase over with, we go directly in the Magic phase. And the Magic phase, good gravy, the Magic phase. So my opponent rolls, he gets boxcars on his Winds of Magic rolls because that he has a very dominant Magic phase. And in the Magic phase, he managed to cast Curse of the Bad Moon directly onto my Silver Squires, rolling a strength test on that one. So because I have to roll under 3 for my guys, as you can see in this photo, 5 of them just get eaten up by the evil cloud that is the Curse of the Bad Moon. Those guys just failed their strength tests and they got killed, which is all kinds of horrible. So that part was atrocious. And then he managed to cast Foot of Gork off as well. It managed to scatter directly into my Grail Knights where it ended up going. He originally targeted my Silver Squires with the Foot of Gork, but it scattered 6 inches to the left and it landed right in the middle of my Grail Knights, so that part was kind of horrible. Killed a couple of them too to make matters worse. So after stopping 2 of my Grail Knights, the Foot of Gork bounces again to the left-hand side. I think it goes over like another 6 inches to the left and lands right in the middle of my, as you can see, it lands right in the middle of my Knights of the Realm, which is all kinds of horrible as well. And I think Brother Grim managed to kill 2 or 3 of my Knights of the Realm, which is also kinds of horrible. And then once again, he also cast Hand of Gork, and that one little lone Luda Fanatic that was right next to the Immortals, he sends them up for some ungodly amount of inches. I think it's like 25 or 26 inches, and puts them right smack dab right in front of my Silver Squires. So that part was insane. Needless to say, my opponent had a very, very, very powerful Magic phase. So with the Magic phase over with, you go directly to the Shooting phase, and the Ludas concentrate fire directly onto the Silver Squires. To make matters worse, I do lose one of them, which makes me take a break test, and unfortunately for me, I rolled an 11 for my first break test. Because I was in range of my Battle Standard Bearer, I was able to re-roll it, but when I re-rolled it though, I rolled a 12. So because of that, my Silver Squires are running, and I think they ran back like 8 or 9 inches back directly into the Vortex, where the Curse of the Bad Moon is waiting for them. And as you can see in this photo, the Bad Moon had no problem whatsoever devouring the last of my Silver Squires, and just like that, I've lost 2 units so far, and things are not looking very good right now for my Bretonnians. And in the rest of the Shooting phase, those Sneaky Gits managed to plink off one of my Ravazan guards, so that part was kind of sad, but you know, them's the break, I guess. So with the Shooting phase over with, you go directly to the Combat phase. And in the Combat phase, I was able to just kill off 4 members of them Backstabbers, so that part was kind of nice. With the 4 kills that I have, the 2 ranks that I also get as well, I went on this combat by 6. And unfortunately for my buddy Brother Grim though, he does fail his break test, so because of that, these goblins from them Backstabbers have to run. They flee. I think I pursue forward 9 inches. As you can see in this photo there, the Templars of the Dawn are moving all the way up forward, heading directly into the Immortals, which is going to be all kinds of awesome for me. Hopefully I can do some damage against the Immortals, because that is a huge hunk of unit of Black Orcs that I have no real response for. And that pretty much ends the turn for the Orcs and Goblins. So from there we go directly to bottom turn number 2 for the Bretonnians, and as you can see in this photo is taken after the move phase, and I decide to just kind of go for it for the most part. The first thing I do is declare a charge with my Knights of the Realm. The Pride Knight Lioness declare a charge against Undead Friend of the Loon. Unfortunate for me though, I failed my charge going forward. I think I went forward 5 or 6 inches forward only, so that part was kind of rough. So because of that, I decided to do exactly the same thing with the Grail Knights. Unfortunate for me, I failed my charge roll for those guys against Undead Friend of the Loon. I think they went forward, I think 4 or 5 inches as well, so not much really happened there. At the same time, I decided to declare a charge with the Templars of the Dawn because they could look at the right-hand flank of the those backstabbers, of those sneaky hits. So because I go charge direct into those guys, so I cast those guys in the flank, and everything else just pretty much stays up where it needs to be for the most part. So here are my failed charges with the Pride of Lioness, as well as with my Blackstone Legion. As you can see, I lost 2 Grail Knights from the Foot of Gork, as well as 3 Knights of the Realm from the Foot of Gork, the last magic phase, and that part was absolutely atrocious. And here's a close-up of the Templars of the Dawn sticking it to the left-hand flank of the those sneaky gits, so I'm looking forward to that combat as well. And finally, here's a close-up of the Ravizan Guard, as well as the Bowmen of Brits, just pretty much standing their ground for the most part. So with the move phase over with, you go directly to the magic phase. And unfortunately for me, during the magic phase, my magic phase was not very very lackluster for the most part. The only thing I was able to get off was the Mist of Shalom, so because that both my knights were protected from the Knights of the Realm, as well as my Grail Knights, became -1 hit against with shooting attacks, so that part was kind of nice. So the magic phase is over with, you go directly to the shooting phase, and my Bowmen of Brits were able to plink off 2 members of the War Boys, so that's 2 less big guns I gotta worry about. But at the same time, you know, he's got orcs for days, so no harm, no foul for the most part. So with the shooting phase over with, you go directly to the combat phase. And the combat phase went pretty well for me this time around. I managed to kill 6 members of those sneaky gits, which was all kinds of awesome. Then they managed to kill one of my knights in return. Basically, I won this combat by 5 from wounds. I also managed to charge him, which gave me a combat result of 6. And because I'm hitting from the flank, that brings up to 7. And I got an additional rank in the back, which brings up to 8. Needless to say, Brother Grimm failed his break test, and his Night Goblins run 12 inches to the right-hand side, which puts them right off the board. So they flee right off the table, no problem whatsoever. And because I decided to overrun, I go crashing directly into the left-hand flank of the War Boys, engaging those guys in close combat, which is also awesome as well. So that part worked out pretty well for me. And that pretty much ends the turn for this one. So from there, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Orcs and Goblins, and once again, this photo is taken after the move phase, and Brother Grimm decides to commit at this point. The first thing he does, he decides to charge forward with the Immortals to go crashing directly into the left-hand flank of the Templars of the Dawn, and between you, me, and Brother Grimm, I know my Quest Knights are now doomed, because there's no way these guys are going to stand up against 2 hordes of Orcs, especially when one unit's Black Orcs, the other one is Biggins, so that part was kind of horrible. At the same time, he also charges an Undead Friend of the Loon directly into the Pride of Lioness, and catching those guys in a close combat as well. His Ludus stay exactly where they're located at. There's no reason to move, and the little Fanatic down below I think moves forward a couple of inches only, and that's pretty much it for the move phase. So here's a close-up of the move phase on the right-hand flank with the Immortals crashing directly into the Templars of the Dawn, as well as the War Boys, and that part's not going to be very nice. And here's a close-up of the Ludus, just kind of standing their ground for the most part and waiting for me to come to them. And here's a close-up with a Lone Fanatic moving around the battlefield randomly with the Vortex from the Bad Moon still on the table. And here's a close-up of Undead Friend the Loon, guarding directly into close combat with my Knights of the Realm from the Pride of Lioness, so that part is kind of rough as well. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the Magic phase. And in the Magic phase, before I could do anything else in the Magic phase, the Curse of the Bad Moon, it moves. And it moves something like 15 or 16 inches. It moves to the upper left-hand corner and lands right smack dab in the middle of my unit, right where my Knights of the Realm, not my Grail Knights, are located at. And for this one, I think it was also a strength test once again is when it ended up happening. So because I had to roll another strength of 4, which is pretty good, all things considering. However, what was not so good though, as you can see in this photo, it just gutted that unit of Grail Knights. I lost, I think, was it 4 Grail Knights when it's all said and done? So because of that, now I only got 6 of these, well actually I take that back, I only got 4 of these guys with my Paladin as well as my Lord, so that part was absolutely atrocious. And just like that, half my Grail Knights are gone. And that pretty much makes the Magic phase. I was able to spell most of my opponent's spells, but with a wonderful Vortex spell like that going off, he really didn't need one for the most part. And to add insult and injury to the shooting phase once again, one of the Doom Diver's catapults managed to fire and plink off one of my Grail Knights as well, so that part was horrible. Luckily for me, I do manage to pass my panic test, so I don't need to worry about fleeing, but at the same time though, this unit's pretty much been made combat ineffective for the most part. And speaking of the combat phase between the Pride of Lioness as well as against Undead Friend of the Loon was horrible. My opponent rolled Yell and Ball on that one, so because that nobody really hurts each other, the giant just yells at my guys for the most part, but he automatically wins combat by 2 as he does the combat res because of that Yell and Ball ability. So of course I have to roll for my leadership test. And what do I roll? I roll Snake Eyes the first time around. So okay, not so bad. I pick up the dice again to roll for my other break test and I roll an 11. And just like that, I failed my break test. And to make matters worse, when I try to flee, I rolled only 6 inches in order to escape. Undead Friend of the Loon decided to pursue. They run for like 8 or 9 inches, and they just run through and just stomp on the rest of the Pride Lioness, killing all of my Knights of the Realm in one fell swoop, and that was absolutely horrific. Meanwhile, combat over here on the right-hand side between my Templars of the Dawn as well as the War Boys and the Immortals. I did manage to kill 2 more members of the War Boys, so that one was kind of nice. And I managed to kill 2 Immortals, which was really cool as well. However, the Immortals, they wiped out my... they just wiped out my unit of the Templars of the Dawn. Those guys all got killed to the last man, so that part was absolutely horrific. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us directly in the game because the only thing I really have left are a partial unit of Grail Knights and my 2 Peasants units, and there's no way in heck I'm going to be able to get my points back. So I decided to call the game, and another victory is achieved from the Orcs and Goblins of Brother Grimm's Waaagpokeylipz Now. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much ends it to the battle report on this one. We're going to go directly to the after action report because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright people, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 108, and this one ended up being a tremendous loss for Commander Cheapskate. In the end, Brother Grimm was able to score 2,387 victory points. I only scored 610. For my losses, I lost Warren the Hermit Shalone, Rapunzel the Lioness, Corbin of the Ravens, the Pride of Lioness, the Silver Squires, the Hedge Knights, the Templars of the Dawn, the Darning Rangers, the Riom Hussars, and the Chasseurs of La'Arv. Brother Grimm, on the other hand, he lost them Backstabbers, those Sneaky Gits, as well as one member of the Kamikaze Boys. I got destroyed in this battle. It was absolutely horrific seeing this. I think that my major mistake that I made for this one was during deployment. I spread out my forces too thin. It was just that simple enough. I didn't concentrate my forces enough. I spread them out pretty much along the entire length of the battlefield, and because of that, it really hurt me. What I should have done was just get my forces together and just charge forward headlong. Yes, I would have to go up against the Fanatics, and yes, I would have to worry about his close combat elements, but playing as a cavalry heavy force, it's all about immediacy. It's about getting stuck in and destroying the opposition as quickly as I can. I didn't do that. I hesitated instead, and this allowed Brother Grimm to just take me apart one unit at a time. He basically just was able to concentrate one unit at a time, able to destroy me that way as well. Not to mention, my magic wasn't very effective during this battle report as well, because my major caster was on the left-hand flank of my army, so he was pretty much ineffective for most of it, so because of that, I wasn't able to do much with my magic, while his Brother Grimm's, however, was on point. The Curse of the Bad Moon, for example, that stuff still haunts my dream, as do all magical vortex spells, so I still gotta worry about that part, and that just decimated most of my force, especially that Foot of Gork spell, really messed me up as well. And Fanatics. Fanatics are still nightmare fuel for me, but I got really lucky in this battle report against the Doomdiver Catapults. Doomdiver Catapults also haunt my dreams in most cases, but they were largely absent in this battle, and that really kind of helped me out not lose as many forces as I could have lost, especially in the earlier phases of the game. Next time, I won't spread out as much. I'll concentrate my forces together more, so that way I can just hit like a ton of bricks and do that the next time. But even though I lost this battle, it was still an amazing battle against an awesome opponent, and as always, I look forward to playing against Brother Grimm any single time that I can, because he's a fantastic dude to play Warhammer against. So that's good to do for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blog.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.